参赛赛几场打下来，就队伍问题出现的还是比较多，沟通方面还有一些小细节该做到都没有做到，就还是需要磨合时间。
上赛季我们表现的不是很理想，为此我们队伍做出了调整，引进了新的选手。下季赛希望让大家看到一个不一样的 OMG。OMG
西安的话，在队伍里跟我风格是蛮接近的，都是承担一个开船与前排的队。
大龙坑里啊，因为有一个奥文的存在，恐怕全部大起来了。看击飞几个击飞，两个人，亚索。
虽然我和957的风格接近，但是我希望在接下来的交锋中，我可以证明自己比他强。
上一个的话，更多的是WE跟OMG的对决，现在的话，更多的是西安跟成都的对决。
我会和我的队友为成都而战。
Welcome back, everyone. After this short break, we're getting into our second game. Team WE versus OMG, or is it Xi'an versus Chengdu? We're about to find out, as we've got OMG in the home crowd in Chengdu. WE, the visitors here, get the chance to try and bring them down once again and continue their success. But welcome back, everyone. I'm Dom. We've got Clement here once again, and let's hop right into this because we've got a chance to see some games early today. We're familiar with 8-11. We should just be able to hop right into the grind. WE, one of the best teams in the region. They went to semifinals, and wait a second, they're not. They are 0-3 right now, and Team WE are struggling, Clement.
Yeah, they are, and this Team WE really isn't the same team that we've recognized from 2017 when they reached the semifinals. They actually are bringing on a lot of new players, and today even, they're playing with 3 new players in Pepper, Imp, and Missing. Especially worthy to note that this split, they have not played a single game with Mystic. So their late game insurance and that ADC tradition for them has really been a bit broken up. We think about W, we talk about Wei Xiao from the old days, and then we think about Mystic. But right now, it's Gentle who's at the helm of all of these new marksmen in the bot lane. And Gentle has actually been showing up quite well. He's been the best lane for WE so far. So we might see more experimentation from them. Just to go in that direction.
And that's so unexpected when you look at the names that are still on the roster for Team WE. Condi making his comeback here in 2018. He's got mechanical outplays. He's already building highlight reels, but he's not quite fitting with the team the same way that he used to. Xie is not having the masterful mid lane performance, and 957 looks as uncomfortable as he did almost a full year ago.
Yep.
This is not the WE that we sent to semifinals at Worlds, even though the name might be the same and some of the names are returning.
We have to characterize W as a team that's still trying to find its place in the meta. They've really tried everything. We've seen Xie go from his typical carry style of mid laners into supports to picking up the Braum, and then we've also seen the bot lane try a lot of new things, but overall their problems have been that they have good individual performances, but you don't know what they look like in the late game. You used to think about them as the big 5v5 team fighting team with the hyper carry and stuff like that. But when they go for those compositions, they can't survive the early game anymore. And when they go for the snowballing tempo advantage with Condi and Xie on something like Zoe and Xin Zhao, then they can't really team fight, which is a lot of paradoxes going on here. And the bottom line is W does need to find themselves at 5th place at the end of this split. If they miss that, they miss qualifiers, and we're going to see one of the few times a semifinalist team without any big roster moves, is going to miss Worlds.
Yeah, it would be quite the tragedy to see that happen. But to get further into these team styles, obviously WE have a lot of different styles that they can play. They're most well known for the turtle style, where they sit back for 35 minutes, look for the late game team fight. With Condi, they take a more aggressive style, as you mentioned. OMG, on the other hand, have a very clear-cut style that they stick to pretty much all of the time. Put Icon on a carry, let him get counterpick, and try to let him solo carry throughout the team. Problem is, that's been a little bit difficult in a mid-jungle meta. It's not just about the mid laners.
Yeah, the two of them actually have very similar problems. It's about transitioning their teams into team fight compositions, and this is where the most trouble where WE has. We haven't seen them win convincingly in a team fight at all, actually. And for OMG, it's actually on the different side of the coin, because Icon has a very defined champion pool. He only plays control mages and assassins. There's no bruisers and there's no meta-defining support stuff going on OMG. So what we've been seeing teams do is simply run a bruiser where you can't kill them, Rogue Wars is a very good example where they ran Kled into his Akali. And once the 5v5 comes out, you realize that, hey, these assassin champions can't deal with people that they just can't kill, and the teamfight kind of falls apart. So for me, this match is going to go two ways. One way is that Condi and Mountain, they each try to duel each other and try to take control of the entire situation and snowball from the mid lane. Or the other way is W actually starts pulling out the bruisers and say, hey, other teams have done it before. This should be kind of a surefire way to bridge ourselves from the early game to the strong late game. And honestly, individual performance-wise, I feel like WE, Condi, and Mountain have still been putting up great numbers.
Yeah, and of course we get to see this highlight of what happens when these junglers are able to affect the lanes. Obviously the mid laners are the ones who reap the benefit, as Icon is able to show up and finally pick up some kills on these carries. Xie doing the same thing. I hate to burst your bubble. We've been running this train the whole time. You already said it earlier. WE aren't playing with Condi in this game one. Pepper is coming in for the jungle to try to fill that out. And on the other side, OMG aren't playing with Icon. Gekko is coming back in.
Yeah, OMG, small correction. They're actually not playing with Mountain. Icon, of course, still on the roster.
Yes, yeah,
but they're going to go back to Gekko, who has been on the team and played the most games in terms of the spring split as well.
Yeah.
We know him as kind of an aggressive guy with his whirling blades. Xin Zhao is kind of a new thing there. But it's going back to comfort, and it's going back to synergy between for these guys right now. And this game is really going to define how they move forward through the rest of the split. What is their styles really? Can Icon really redefine himself? We know he's so good on certain champions. He has one of the highest goal differences out of any mid laner, but can he really branch that out and help OMG into a team fight comp, which they never had in spring?
Yeah, well, this has always been the struggle for OMG. They have one excellent carry in that mid lane, but you have to look to those side lanes. Xiang and Chelly, somebody has got to step up and provide more for this team. Historically, they've been looking through the junglers to try and provide that, but that's where we've seen the disconnect. And right now, OMG are playing Gotta Catch 'em All with junglers. I believe they have 4 junglers on their roster, 1 active and 3
Fire
subs.
Lily actually retired. So
oh,
still
did he?
3.
Okay, so they're down to 3, but
need to keep it
it's
Trinity.
constantly rotating through these junglers to try and find that. Is that a solution that they can try to bring if they want to try and grow back to the team that went to Rift Rivals last year?
Well, personally, I'm quite biased. I actually think you should
Oh,
give
okay.
Mountain a couple more tries,
Yes.
because Mountain in this meta is actually a carry type of jungler. What we've been seeing teams do is ban out his Camille, ban out his Graves, ban out his Xin Zhao. Champions that, given enough gold, are Triforce users and can really snowball the games themselves. And teams understand if you take away the second carry potential from OMG, they're not very good relying on solely Icon. So I want to see them branch out Mountain's champion pool, have him in a carry champion, and just fix the team's problem through that.
Well, maybe they'll get the chance in Game 2, because as we said, it's Gekko coming into Game 1 against their opponent's team, WE. Perhaps he has been practicing on meta, I guess, for OMG behind the scenes, because he's going to have to bring out something here, as now we get to see WE bringing in their new roster. Pepper in the jungle, Imp on AD carry, missing their new support to replace both Ben and Celestial.
And this is super interesting because we might see teams starting to do this more. They're going to swap in duos when they've practiced specific strategies.
We'll have to see if OMG have a strategy with Xiang, Gekko, Icon, Chelly, and 5, and their opponents, WE. We were just talking about the roster a moment ago. Could this be the team trying something new, setting expectations for the new 10-man roster with 957, Pepper, Xie, Imp, and Missing?
I just realized this was never mentioned on cast, but Gekko's name in Chinese actually means to unbutton. So he's going to try to reveal WE as the naked kings
weaker
here.
team. Yeah. Well, right now, OMG are 1-2. WE are 0-3.
Slightly better.
If WE win this, they'll go 1-2 against each other. Both of the teams will have 1 point, but WE will own head-to-head. This matchup could actually be important later on in the split if these teams start to accelerate and start fighting for a final playoff spot. Of course, that's a very, very long time away. What I do want to get back to, though, is setting expectations for Team WE. They've got a 10-man roster now. They're bringing in 3 AD carries. They've got 2 supports. They've got 2 junglers. What are we looking for with this team? This was a team that went to semifinals. They had a winning strategy, and now they're trying something new.
Let's be honest, for WE, their total amount of talent is top 3 in the LPL.
Yeah.
I think if you match them up to EDG, they're even above them. Like, they have good players on every single position. Not consistent players, but good players when they do show up.
Yeah.
So it's a bit disheartening to see W take this long to actually retool and get themselves back to this stage. So I don't know. There might be something going on with their team. You know, we've heard rumors and stuff like that, but it's time to shape up. It's summer split, and you have to look forward to Worlds.
We'll have to see if they can recover. It took them a long time before, but now is their time. But it's also our casters' time to get us into this game between WE and OMG.
不去躲避那些责任和难题 ，OMG 的救赎由我们亲手完成。
Definitely is our time, Don. We're going to get straight into the second match of today. It's going to be WE taking on OMG. I'm Matthew Stewart. Joining me is Zach, Rusty Pie. And how do we start? How do we start this match, Rusty? OMG against WE?
Well, first and foremost, I think we have to look at Team WE's roster. It was mentioned on the desk already, but now's a better chance to actually, slow it down, talk about what this really is. Because, they mentioned duos being a very viable reason, and strategies behind the duos coming in as to perhaps why you start to see two people replaced. RNG, the best example of this, right? Constantly subbing out their mid laner and their jungler for very specific purposes. Now, for WE, they've changed a lot of members. And I don't know if there is a specific rhyme or reason to this, something along the lines of duo. I think it's just individually, perhaps more aggression to be seen from this starting five.
I mean, potentially, because Imp is going to be starting today. We've seen Imp jump in for Team WE a couple of times as an AD carry, but it's mostly been all about the other players. But Mystic, yet to be seen as well. He's yet to play a single match, and he could potentially try and jump in today as well, especially with Pepper playing in the jungle for Team WE to kickstart Game 1.
And Pepper's the place that you actually have to start when you speak towards aggression. He was from FunPlus Phoenix beforehand, now joins Team WE. He's been sitting on the bench behind Condi since the start of this split, and Condi hasn't actually started the split all too strong, but now that Pepper comes in, he gets an opportunity. We saw a lot of promise from him just before he came over to Team WE in summer. At the end of spring, we actually saw a lot of positives from him. He started to slow down. It almost felt like he'd found his footing as a jungler with that team. And now we get to explore that for the second time. Can he do the same thing again with Team WE, or does he start aggressive again and just lose everything he'd learned?
It's almost ironic because Pepper was that aggressive jungler to start Spring Split, but the meta really slowed down. It became about late game insurance AD carries with the likes of Mystic or Uzi picking up those late game hyper carries. Now coming into this new split with the new meta, it's much faster. It's very chaotic during the early game. Junglers have a huge impact and a huge presence in the game, like we see from Snake trying to build around SOFM quite frequently. It could be a blessing or a curse to Team WE, and we get the first look at Pepper going into the jungle for them today. On the flip side, OMG, they're taking out Mountain, their newly acquired jungler, and putting Jekko back into the roster.
Always going to be curious. We've seen 2 games from him so far. In their first set, he got a victory against Snake, but then lost the second game, was subbed out, and was never seen since. But for OMG, they've got 2 set losses on the trot. They don't want to make that a third.
No, they do not. On top of that, we've seen that from quite a few teams in the LPL where they do put in their substitute jungler, see how they go for game 1 and 2. If they do end up losing one of them, bring in the other player, the veteran, so to speak. In this case, Mountain, a newly acquired player for OMG. But let's get straight into Champion Select, game number 1. OMG taking on Team WE. First 2 bans from W are going to be Rise as well as Talia, waiting on that final ban. But Bruises are the bans that come out from OMG. Yasuo, Nocturne, as well as Irelia. They're 3 bans.
3 champions. Of course, not all 3 of them, but champions that are very good at dealing with mid lane. And of course, speaking of dealing with mid lane, is WE not having a bar of it. Icon not even going to get to look at some of those champions. Even though they can flex to multiple lanes, it does mean that Icon can't touch them.
I mean, Icon's a bloody walking highlight reel at the moment. He had a fantastic Cassiopeia play against Snake recently. Last split looked fantastic for OMG as well. Had probably the #1 play during Spring Split as well. But OMG, with the 3 bans of Majors coming out from Team WE, get to lock in Camille as their first pick.
Yeah, Camille's going to be a very high priority champion. Primarily goes towards the jungle position, so that removes the likelihood of seeing those Taric Yis running around through the jungle and mid lane. And of course, WE recognizing that fact are able to look towards a jungler of their own. So now we get to look at their second pick. And for me, WE, it's the perfect team for Pepper to come in his first set playing in the LPL again. He's got Xie to protect him, to support him. And one of the better supportive style mid laners in our league is Xie. So I'm excited to see what they pair with Pepper, but we don't get to see that just yet.
I mean, we know that Xie can step up and carry for Team WE if he needs to. But curious to see how he's going to play in this match with an aggressive jungler being picked up. That's going to be Olaf heading into the jungle against Pepper. Most likely going up against Camille, picked 13 times in the jungle, only once being thrown into the top lane. So still a slight flex pick, but WE also get the most popular AD carry. Lucian gets picked up. That should be played by Imp in the bottom lane.
Lucian's always going to be a nice pick, and to watch Imp play the Lucian hopefully will continue to be a treat. Of course, on the opposite side, though, it's not just the AD carries we're going to see locked in. Could be a bottom laner, however, with that Ornn.
Ornn gets locked in for OMG. This could go anywhere. Could go mid lane, top lane, bottom lane support, bottom lane AD carry. Who knows at this point? We'll have to see what the rest of the draft looks like for OMG. But Icon, he's been patched into this meta. It's chaotic. It's brawl heavy. He loves to pick up assassins, and he could very well not do it, Rusty. Lulu gets locked in as the pick of choice for OMG. Still yet to know where that's going to go as well.
Yeah, Lulu has actually also one of the other champions that's been seen in multiple roles, often in mid lane. I would say primarily in that middle lane, but we've seen Lulu bottom lane. We've seen Lulu in the AD carry position within that. However, it's OMG and it's Icon. So I don't want to see that Lulu mid. No one wants to see that Lulu mid. You want to see Icon carrying.
I mean, it's the second most popular mid laner, only played once in the AD carry and once in the support position, so effectively supports down at the bottom lane. We're curious to see who's going to be playing that Lulu in the mid lane. It should be Icon, but we do want to see him on Assassins because that's what he's known for and that's what he's performing incredibly well on. Whereas Team WE, they lock in Karma as their pick of choice. Again, another flex pick. This could be mid lane, could be AD carry, could be support. Who knows at this point?
For me, looking at all of the draft locked in so far, and you can see through the first ban that some more bruisers and potentially bottom laners or just flex picks are getting banned away. I still think Shen stands out as one of the better options still remaining. Shen very good at enabling a Kaiser-style composition. OMG have not locked in their AD carry yet. There's a chance that WE with their last ban look towards the AD carry role, but there's also a chance that the Shen gets secured by OMG and they look towards something else entirely that can dive into the backline.
Because despite Team WE playing something like Vladimir in the bottom lane, they've been primarily an AD carry-based team. With the current meta, it's been three different ways you can play that bottom lane. Either fully bruiser, fully support, fully mage, no AD carries to be seen, half and half, or purely AD carries like a team like RNG. Yeah. WE are very similar to RNG, only throwing a single Vladimir pick down there. And often we do see mid laners rotate into the bottom lane at the start of match. We saw it from Faker when he picked up Darius for the first time in the LCK. Potentially, the Darius Wells Jax bans could be the same thing being thrown at Icon, trying to prevent him from rotating into the bottom lane. Chelly has been known to play these bruisers as well, but Dr. Mundo is the first ban in the second draft phase for OMG. Curious to see what their final ban is going to be against WE.
Yeah, with the Yasuo and the Ryze gone, the Vladimir still available. That does make you wonder. Again, the Aatrox goes, but the Vladimir's still up and present. Could be picked to go in the mid lane if you want that Karma in the support role. I wouldn't be surprised to see that because I would expect that OMG still consider that an option. Give themselves some extra added team fighting strength.
But there's still a ton of incredibly powerful picks. Singed is one of them. BLG really well known for picking up Singed in the top lane, 100% banned against them when they don't. This time we should see 957 run around with the mad scientist himself.
Yeah. And 957's been very good lately this split. He's one of the few, and again, Team WE have been really good individual players here and there. You know, in spots they've been brilliant, in spots they've been a little bit weak, but overall they've been lacking in their team play. And I think a lot of the champions they've picked so far either enable team play in the likes of a Karma, or they do the opposite and they're just strong individual champions that you can solo carry on like the Singed.
I mean, we got to see him play Gnar twice. One of them was actually a victory for Team WE, a champion that has really been patched out the current meta. Something that 957 is well known for. Still happy to bring out his comfort picks in the top lane, but he gets a more meta-oriented pick of the Singed top. Let's see if his performance from the last few sets carries through. OMG decide they're going to go towards AD carries after only playing a couple of Xayah games in a Kennen match. They go for Ashe, a pick that was seen by Uzi on RNG's side.
They take a page from the RNG book, absolutely correct, Fish. They go towards an AD carry, but then they also secure the Tahm Kench. The thing that enables AD carries right now is that TK. It denies the Alistar a bit also as a supportive choice for Team WE. And you can see the Braum is actually going to be the direction they look towards here. Team WE have adapted. They've recognized it's a TK Ashe. Perhaps they've had some time to explore RNG's strategic playbook. And they've come up with an answer of their own.
Yep. They go for Lucian Braum in the bottom lane. I had the pleasure of watching Legacy play this matchup a long time back in the OPL. And it's become a very popular pick with the current meta as well. When you do get that Lucian pick, Tahm Kench just feels like it's something that's going to negate all the aggression that they can throw into the bottom lane.
See, not always the case with a Braum in that lane, right? Braum can actually attack every target. There's a chance that you can just go for the Tahm Kench even if he chooses to save the Ashe. That's a big thing that you have to consider now when a lot of AD carries are not running heal. They're often running the teleport, so there's added risk in 2v2s of dying.
That's true.
And with Lucian, Braum being a kill lane, not having teleport to keep your support alive, there's a lot of reliance on your positioning, and that's something that Braum Lucian can exploit.
I mean, I consider teleport on AD carry players a curse at the moment anyway, because often we've seen them teleport into the middle of team fights and wonder why they die straight away. Hasn't looked too good for a couple of the players in the LPL so far, but we'll see the traditional bottom lane setup with 2 supports being thrown into the mid lane. Karma going up against Lulu. We thought Icon could go back towards his assassin or mage heavy picks.
Yeah, this is disappointing, isn't it?
He's going towards him. He's going towards the support, something that Sia is going to be incredibly comfortable playing against.
Yeah, you are actually playing into Xie's hands right now with the champions that you have chosen for yourself, Icon. And OMG as a team are going to go that supportive route. That's a lot of faith actually being given to Chelly, who has to step up to the plate right now. He has to play against Imp, someone who's usually quite good in laning phase. Either wins or loses, I should say. Not always good. He's been a bit of a wash lately.
He's been an interesting player for the past few years, Rusty.
Still a laning AD carry, so we've got to give him that. Chelly has to show up, has to do well through that laning phase against a high-pressure 2v2 and be enabled to teamfight late game as an Ashe.
Yeah, I mean, Ashe packs a lot of utility, has a decent range advantage in the bottom lane as well, rocking 600 range against Lucian, but lacks the damage it feels.
I will say, though, the one big thing that OMG have drafted for themselves is the mid-jungle duo. That is a very strong duo. This was something the analyst desk said was very important. They've set themselves up to succeed through exactly that in skirmishes.
And we'll be able to watch that mid-jungle duo and talk about it a little bit more. Camille as well as Lulu in the jungle for them. But let's first get onto Summoner's Rift. It's going to be game number 1. OMG taking on Team WE. Look, every single team's just attacking the Jindong approach.
What arena are we at, though? We're at OMG's arena in Chengdu, and WE fans are out in force right now to support them.
They flocked. They got their own arena themselves, but they don't care. They're able to flock over to the arena for OMG in Chengdu. Massive cheers coming out from Team WE. We talk about it a lot. They're one of the oldest teams in the LPL. If you create an account on any of the servers here, you get it instantly. You get a WE icon. That's how old this team is.
Yeah, they are a timeless organization, but unfortunately the current team has not been performing to standards by any expectations of themselves or of their fans.
Yep, a big drop. Going from semi-finals at Worlds last year, not doing too well in the spring split, and 0-3 currently in the summer split.
Of course, as we have actually panned out onto Summoner's Rift, something that we have to mention because it may be important early is that it's an Ignite for the mid lane of Icon. He hasn't gone towards the teleport, not even the exhaust, to help keep his AD carry or his skirmishers alive. Instead, he wants the Ignite. That usually screams lane priority because you have kill threat, which means you're going to be helping your jungler out.
And you were talking about this during Champion Select. OMG pairing up their mid lane and jungle synergy. Camille being picked up by Jericho gets early access to the Scuttle Crab. With that Ignite, is that going to change how these two attack the current game against Team WE?
It just tends to mean that Xie will not have any mid-priority or control of the lane super early on into the piece. So he has to adjust his play style. It also means that Pepper will have to adjust his style of pathing. You can see that he's gone from camp to camp. He's going to stay low and he's going to full clear, because he's not looking towards fights or skirmishes, and that's the risk. The risk is firstly that you get low, yes, but secondly that you open the map in its entirety to the opposing side's jungler.
So far we haven't seen those two junglers clash. Pepper does go very low, gets spotted out by the Hawk shot thrown out by Chelly. So they know exactly where Olaf is. He's now going to rotate down, pick up Scuttle Crab for himself, but 957 takes a few aggressive trades against Xiang and Jekko. Respect flash coming out from 957.
Big respect flash. I would not have flashed if I was Jericho on the Camille either way. He was level 2, but the gank, that's a success now, and all he has to do is show his head in lane. And 957 flashes away mid lane. Has to be careful.
Icon saw that this Olaf was walking straight over a ward, and immediately the U-turn comes out from Pepper, heads straight back into Jericho's jungle.
Olaf has a level advantage, so there has to be 2 people here to push Pepper away.
Does get slowed down by Icon, gives him some more time. Karma is rotating over, and OMG disengaged. They don't want to pick that 2-on-2 fight just yet.
But they do bully out Team WE. They save their jungle camps, and they will be able to continue to farm up on that Camille. It's not the ideal camp for Jericho to do at level 2, however. Being that Camille only having Q in the hook shot. The hook shot's now your only tool of AoE to clear the camp. So he's most likely going to have to do that and then recall, or use a smite on it and not have a smite for the Krugs. He's going to have a rough early moment there in the jungle clear, so that's early lead actually for the Olaf when you think about jungling. However, there was a successful game.
Yes, he got a nice CS advantage, but does burn 957's flash as well as teleport. We got to check in with the bottom lane as well. Ash going up against Lucian. Lethal Tempo being picked up by Ash, not going for any of the other precision keystone runes.
Also didn't go towards Comet. If you want to poke your lane down, you can go towards the Comet as Ash. It is definitely a possibility, but in this case, Lethal Tempo is quite nice against people that are going to be in your face. W, the volley, also starts the channel of it. 1.5 seconds you have to wait before the attack speed comes in. Well, volley and the ultimate, very good ways of getting access to exactly that. So W, anyone in front of you, takes them a little bit of time to catch up to you. Then you got attack speed to blast them.
You can already see they're having a difficult time in that bottom lane. Chelly, despite the protection of Tahm Kench, has fallen below half health. No potions left. Imp just popped his final potion with a Doran shield, but Pepper going aggressive against Jericho, still level 4 against level 3. Uses the Predator as well, picked up boots on his last recall back to base, and actually knocks Jericho out of his own jungle.
Yeah, really good here from Pepper, knowing that he's able to bully out the opposing jungler. The mistake that Jericho seems to have made is that he's just stayed a little bit too long. Was spotted on vision, hadn't shopped, may have been wanting to save up for perhaps a Tiamat, but ultimately was never going to get the gold. That's an extra full clear away. So he goes back, just gets the jungle item, and loses complete control of the jungle.
Now this mid lane jungle synergy coming out from OMG, not looking too good. Icon is being pushed in against Seer, now taking a couple of aggressive trades as he knows that Camille is in his back pocket if he needs him. But Pepper's doing the exact same thing in the mid lane. Seer is being protected by this Olaf, constantly hovering in case Jericho decides to make his way over, but instead, it's going to be Scuttle Crab number 3 that gets picked up by OMG.
Of course, when you're looking at the mid lane, you see the Olaf nearby, you might be feeling a little bit scared for Icon, but that's not the case at all. He's playing like his Camille is nearby, and correctly so, of course. We can see him with our spectator mode that he is absolutely right there. But even Pepper, whilst he's in the position to make the first move, doesn't want to. Wants to keep farming and is just hovering near the middle lane to protect Karma throughout all of the pressure that Icon is now very clearly exerting onto his lane opponent.
Jericho's going to try and use this time to do some counter jungling of his own. Drops a control ward over at the blue buff of Pepper's jungle. Takes away the big wolf and accidentally resets the small wolves, but still get one for himself. Pepper's now moving down towards bottom side of the map after his second recall.
Or do they look towards something aggressive simply because missing is lack thereof health? I'm not going to say missing. That's a hard thing to do, actually.
Unfortunately, you just got to go with Freak in this one. Just take the puns when you can, Rusty. Gromp does get reset, though. Jericho tries to take that away from Pepper, but he shows himself.
Still, the dive is potentially on here because Icon is unlocked. The teleport
level
available.
6. Level 6, and he has Ignite for this Lulu. Let's see if Icon goes to the side with Jericho. Immediately exhaust being used onto Imp, collapsing. The jungler's going to jump in first, and 2 kills already picked up by OMG. 5 will die to Ignite. Return kill being picked up by Missing, but it's OMG with the first proactive play.
Yeah, 5 barely goes down on the backside just from the Ignite of Missing. OMG, they make the dive. They make it successful. Xie did not have the teleport. 957 did not have the teleport for himself as well. And Xiang was the only member on the map that had that there. And suddenly, that's another OMG member that could actually join the fray if the fight went a bit poorly. Didn't even. The 4 members is all it takes.
They still found a way, though. Jericho was being pushed out of his jungle by Pepper, tracked him, found him inside of his own blue buff. And on top of that, Seer was doing a good job of keeping Icon occupied, keeping him shoved underneath his own turret. But the OMG duo still find a way to find access into that bottom lane, get a very early dive against Imp as well as Missing.
But you feel like you could see this coming almost from the draft phase as well, though. You've got an Ashe and a Tahm Kench that controls lane 99% of the time with the volleys, unless you win an all-in trade as a Braum Lucian to get complete control. Didn't happen. The wave was mounting up, the poke was being placed down by Chelly. You've got the Ignite, you've got the Lulu Camille combo in the mid jungle. So they're clearly going to be unlocked and going to be freed. And instead of going towards the opposing jungle, which is a possibility, they choose to go towards their winning lane. This is something that they could have done very feasibly from the minute they drafted this composition, and they're able to execute that WE with no response.
Yeah. Chelly as well as 5 will be being bullied very early by Imp as well as Missing, but they turned the tides of that fight around the 7 or 6 minute mark and got a bit of help from Jericho as well as Icon. It seems like that's what they're trying to play around this Ashe pick. I mean, you've got a Lulu in the mid lane with a Tahm Kench, 2 supports being able to protect this AD carry, a bit of damage coming out from Jericho and a nice tank in the top lane from OMG, but Ashe is not really well known as the highest damage dealer for AD carries.
No, not known as the highest damage dealing AD carry, but definitely still does an abundance of damage. In the Blade of the Ruined King style of champions now as well, and still does a bunch of damage output with the Blade of the Ruined King completed. Having that Q attack reset firstly, and all the poke damage in the early laning phase. Volley, I believe, is the highest base damage spell of an AD carry that you can throw down there.
Unless you hit both of Sivir's boomerangs at level 1, I believe. It's the only thing that can try and top that.
The risk was always going to be level 1, level 2 against the Braum, the all-in potential, because that completely missed OMG. They opened the map. They opened up an opportunity, and you can see Missing has a stopwatch right now. He's trying to prevent the dives that'll start to come out post-level 6 now that Ashe has an arrow.
Yeah. Potentially stop those dives, or now that Pepper himself is level 6, Ragnarok is available. OMG have a ton of crowd control, but Pepper now doesn't care whenever his ultimate is available. Singe is an absolute madman on top of that. He will just run straight into the backlines if he wants to, and teleport is available for 957 after the early gank comes out from Jericho. There's no return. Xian's not able to capitalize on that either.
This is interesting from Pepper. There was an opportunity for him to look towards the bottom lane, 2 scrying orbs used to see if there was vision in the tri-bush, but he chooses not to and just takes away a jungle camp instead. And the reason that was a possibility also is that the Karma, when he's hovering near mid, could be aggressive, could push, and suddenly they could be the ones to look towards the dive bottom lane, or at least a gank potentially in the tri-bush. They don't go for anything. They play it slow, they play it reserved, they're just going to continue to scale up, maybe get some item spikes before things start to really break open.
Is that what we're going to see from Team WE for the next 10 minutes or so? Just sit back and relax? It's almost going back to their traditional playstyle, and one that we saw for them in their first match in the summer split of the LPL. Wait until about 35 minutes before they start fighting.
I wouldn't be surprised if Team WE plays slow full stop. That is definitely something that they are accustomed to doing. For me, I'm not actually looking at WE in terms of how they're going to play. Pepper has been trying his best just to out-farm in the jungle. Mid lane's just a Karma, scaling up and clearing waves. The Lucian is going to be a very dangerous AD carry to deal with, especially at the 2-item spike once he gets those online, as per the old Lucian we saw running around. So WE, pretty content just scaling. I think OMG are the ones you have to highlight on what will they do. You know, they've got the item spikes, they've got the Ashe arrow, they've got the capabilities to make the big plays, and Ornn is a team-fighting top laner. They could look towards some bigger things.
Well, we already got a couple of questions answered here. Is Pepper going to be the aggressive Pepper that we saw at the start of Spring Split? Or is he going to be the laid-back, more relaxed Pepper that we saw at the end of Spring Split, adapting to the meta back then? He's definitely a lot more laid-back, still being aggressive when he can. But he hasn't been running straight into Jericho's jungle, hasn't been going hyper-aggressive. We see some of the junglers in the current split of the year, or in the current meta, I should say, do. But farming up the Storm, as you mentioned earlier, 20 CS ahead of Jericho at the moment, making sure that he scales up with the rest of Team WE. OMG going to try and use this time to pick up the first dragon for themselves. Mountain Dragon, no vision from Team WE. They don't see this being taken away and gets picked up nice and easy.
Yeah, secure themselves a Mountain Dragon. Even some Honey Fruit on the way out for Jericho. He's just going to get back up to full health and feel real good about himself. And this actually stems from vision. You can see how much warding is being placed down by both respective teams, but it's about the placement of that vision. WE, that's defensive. None of it is going to be past the river whatsoever, whereas OMG have started to control the river with control wards, and then start to stretch those forwards a bit more, just aggressive a bit more. If they can find someone, they can make a counterplay, and that was the first move towards it.
Has it cost Team WE too much? They're only about 500, maybe 400 gold behind OMG, which is not much at any point during the match. At top side of the map, you don't see 957 doing anything cheeky like proxy farming or moving into OMG's jungle, not risking his life to try and find an advantage elsewhere on the map. In fact, he's even sacrificing some CS himself.
I have to go check if we're in an LPL game here. This is a bit slow. It's unusual. I know Team WE are prone to this style of play, and OMG just seem to be very calm and measured in how they want to deal with this. They're just going to reciprocate.
It also is very different from OMG. They might be reacting to their match against Team WE because we don't usually see AD carry someone in the bottom lane. And when it is, it's going to be a Xayah or a Kennen sometimes. Not an Ashe, not something that really wants to wait till late game, really does want to try and scale up.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen the utility come out from OMG just yet. We're trying to see if they do move back into that bottom lane, capitalize on the crowd control they have.
Now, I will say that I know the LPL well enough to acknowledge that they're at 1 item spikes in every lane now, OMG. And usually, in a traditional sense, the LPL will see those item spikes. They'll look at their opponents, you know, hold down that tab button and be like, okay, the one lane we have an advantage where their mid laner is stuck. He chose to go towards Merc Treads. That's mid lane. Not going to be eluded. Not going to deal the maximum damage. I deal more. That's a great time for me to leave lane and dive someone else. Or it's a great time for you to come to my lane. That's usually the 2 ways it'll go here. So we're kind of looking towards Icon is the one place that is in a point of power and can make a play.
Still tied with CS against Seer. As we mentioned earlier, not going for an assassin, but still very aggressive on this looter, picking up Ignite, already to assist to his name after the dive bottom lane was successful from OMG, but they're doing the exact same thing. They're sitting back, they're relaxing, they're farming, and it's, at this point, unorthodox. Something we expect from Team WE. They are the Elder Dragon team. We know that they like to scale up. We know they like to pick up... And, oh, sorry, we know they like to sacrifice objectives when it makes sense.
They're not just known as the Elder Dragon team. They're known because that is 35 minutes in the game when they hit the team fights, right? The real thing that Team WE have always been known for, and the reason we coined them the Elder Dragon team, is because they're a turtle. They'll sit in their base, if they poke their head out and someone comes at them and attacks them, they'll hide. They'll just go back inside their shell, they'll withdraw until 35 minutes when they always win the game. That's the thing that you have to look at. Will that turtle actually poke its head out?
I mean, we saw that from them in their first match against TOP, which, by the way, every single Shoutcaster said was going to go in WE's favor.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a 2-0. TOP played incredibly well and found weakness in that late game strategy that Team WE have been known for many years. However, as Team WE sit back and relax, and arrows being thrown into the mid lane, is it going to connect? No, it's not. Seer ducks away from that. Jericho was able to pick up Rift Herald and was waiting in Fog of War in case it connected.
It does reveal that the entire topside jungle is cleared as well. It gets the nailed angle there. But Ashe No Arrow does also open up avenues to the other side of the map. Perhaps WE use that as a time to look towards bottom lane now that they're exposed. In the 2v2 at least, they do get a bit more control.
I mean, Pepper was looking to try and make his way down into that bottom lane, but doesn't do so. Rotates straight to the mid lane where we see Seer use the time to go back to base. Picked up a Ludens for himself. As Chelly gets aggressed by Imp here, pushing even further forward. But every single time, 5 just keeps him safe. Make sure that Ashe doesn't take too much damage. And now looks like Team WE are still trying to attack this bottom lane, still trying to find access. 2 control wards already being placed around the red buff.
Yeah, the first real moves towards offensive vision being seen by WE there in the red side jungle of OMG. Of course, they're about to find them, about to clear them out. There is 1 ward still standing, however. That's a potential teleport ward if 957 wants to look towards that. Of course, Imp and Xie are not going to be able to teleport anywhere at the moment. The one thing that we have to consider right now, though, is that there is a Rift Herald. They could use that Rift Herald at any time, OMG. Ooh. Except for the current time, because Jericho just got absolutely blasted.
Warrior's enchantment as well as dodge boost. Not too good. Takes too much damage from Seer. Predator was used by Pepper trying to find access to the mid lane. Icon just sidesteps the axe and still trying to clear out as many of these minions as possible. Half of the timer of the Rift Herald is gone. So Jericho doesn't have too many opportunities to use it just yet. And everyone from his squad is trying to recall, except for Seong, just going to build items in the top lane.
He still kind of needs to recall for mana, but right now he just wants to stay in lane and be stronger than his opponent, who's just going to dance it out. And continue to dance it out. You can't stop him. Madman.
Rift Herald does get thrown into the mid lane. I mean, Seer's already here. He's ready for this. Pepper's already been called upon to defend this turret, so we should just see a charge coming out from Rift Herald.
Yeah, it'll be a full charge, though, so it'll get most of the damage off that you can possibly get. Potentially open the turret up for another time. All it takes is a stiff breeze down to knock that one over. So that's a good move from OMG. The correct placement, in my opinion, anyway, from Jericho, looking towards the middle lane. But with no turrets down for either team at 18 minutes in, this has been one of the most protracted laning phases that we've seen in League of Legends in 8-11, first and foremost. So calm, so reserved, and no one willing to take the plunge.
on anything.
It's been very slow so far from both teams. OMG with an early dive, picking up a couple of objectives. Now WE, they got the Rift Scuttle, and that was around the Dragon Pit. Infernal Dragon already at half health. OMG could try and force a fight here. Chelly looking for access. Icon and Jekko ready to jump over the wall. They have to. Jekko jumps over, doesn't get the steal. Olaf picks it up. Teleport immediately being used by Sion to try and find access into the bottom lane, but he cancels it in 5. Mato Jekko gets back over the wall. Steal not successful. WE pick up an objective for themselves.
I think that Smite got it to 5 health. That was super close there coming out of OMG's jungler, but he doesn't find it. In the end, WE, they're able to equalize the dragon, secure it in this game. Now it's an Infernal to a Mountain Dragon, however, so one team gets the team fighting bonus, the other gets the objective secure. And moving towards Baron is actually the place you have to direct your attention to now. When we're at 19 minutes in, it's 1 minute away. Towers still haven't fallen down, but we've got Blade of the Ruined King users who can take the Baron in 5 to 10 seconds extremely quickly. You're looking at who makes that first move, who wants to get priority of the middle lane. And currently, I think OMG are the ones with the best shot at it.
And I mean, Baron has been nerfed as well in the early game. It's much easier to take now. Your team doesn't take a lot of the Baron debuff anymore, just the main person tanking. So we could see OMG move towards that objective. The game is still incredibly even between the two. Pepper still a level ahead of Jekko, fighting over Raptor Camp. WE's mid lane outer turret is incredibly low as well. They rotated Imp as well as Missing to protect that during the Rift Herald siege. Didn't need them, but was helpful for them to try and pick up the Infernal Dragon for themselves. And I'm curious if this is the playstyle that Imp would really feel comfortable in. Sitting back, relaxing, farming up a storm.
I'm gonna say no to him and Pepper. I mean, to be fair, he's been dealing with PYL for quite some time, and they'd have Harmony as a duo, so the synergy would be there. And they tend to be very aggressive as a duo. PYL always looks for opportunities to fight in lane. Looks for times when he goes wandering out of lane, just disappears and tries to make some plays with the rest of his team. So this is already a foreign concept for him. He's got a support that's just hanging out.
Yep.
He's just sitting in the bottom lane with him, and that's already new. That might be quite exciting. He just wants to let that sink in for a little while.
Unlike PYL, Missing is never missing, and we've known Imp to do strange things like rotate the side lanes and try and pick up as much farm as possible, getting caught out by top laners or junglers. He's got his support by his side all the time. He should be just fine. As both teams collapse into the mid lane.
Yeah.
Just farming up a storm, just pushing waves back and forth. Nobody's fighting. I don't understand anymore.
Yeah, I'm actually
I think we've got the wrong game. I think this is the LCK.
Wrong patch. Wrong region.
This is last split.
But still Imp. Still Imp. He still exists. They're also looking towards the mid lane turret. You actually need turrets to fall down to be able to accelerate the game. And you've got so much priority on actual mid priority, I should say, between a Karma and a Lulu. But neither of them can do anything unless their junglers contribute. And all we've seen is a lot more control, I would say, from Pepper through jungling. You know, he's slowly accrued a CS lead in that position, but he hasn't gone to a lane with it. And the one time someone's tried to make a play, it was OMG, and they dove the bottom lane very correctly, very successfully on top of that. But that didn't get them a turret. That didn't get them mid priority.
WE might be looking to try and make an aggressive play in the bottom lane. Both Pepper as well as Sia making their way down there. Engage comes out from WE, but just knocks 5 to about half health.
Yeah, but it's still a Runaan's Hurricane Ash with Volley also up and available. Icon, now fully aware of where Pepper and Xie are, doesn't really mind too much. He's just going to go clear that mid wave, get that priority going on.
No one's going to fight Rusty. All we see is Imp being aggressive in the bottom lane, and 5 just says no. Not today. Now just waiting in the bush. Even the crowd enjoys
this is a potential dive. Perhaps teleports as well.
Let's see what happens. 5 is the target at first. Exhaust being used on the Imp, but Jelly going aggressively forward. Ultimate gets thrown out by Missing. Pepper's making his way downtown as well, but the first kill to 5 gets picked up by Team WE. 2 kills in the bottom lane. They trade back.
And the first thing to break the game open is just a 2v2 skirmish at 22 minutes in the game with 2 teleports available. OMG were the ones who didn't have them, and they are exploited because of that. Now mid as well.
Both mid laners are going to go at it, but what they don't know is the Mad Scientist is right behind this little Pixie. 957 flashing forward. Pepper joins in the fight as well. 1-on-3, just not fair. Icon falls.
I think we saw 22.5 minutes of pretty casual League of Legends laning phase, and then WE said, all right, now's the time. We're going to go forwards, and OMG simultaneously decide to not play like a team and individually get caught out. So the cascades brilliantly in Team WE's favor. It just leaves you wondering what happened to OMG in the past couple of minutes.
I mean, it used to be the Elder Dragon team, Rusty. They could potentially be trying to rename their nickname to the Baron team, because this was a 20-minute skirmish.
Yeah. Now, note that Ash has no arrow, so in this situation, WE are making the aggressive play. Pepper is simply here to make sure the kills are secured, so he'll lock that one for himself. And then Icon decides in the mid lane that Pepper may just hang bottom, look for the turret, but he goes mid during that time. They didn't really need the assistance to get that turret down.
No, did not. 957 was waiting in the wing as well, making sure that he keeps his mid lane safe. But first turret does fall to Team WE. The bottom lane outer has been broken. They pick up a nice 1,500 gold lead for themselves. Athene's even being picked up by Sierra. This is aggressive. Where are you going, Five? Straight into the back lines. Brom's going to block the arrow, but now he's the target. Puts up a big shield. Imp only takes half his health in damage, but it's going to be missing that falls first. Pepper looks to try and see if he can rejoin this fight, but OMG get a successful pick in the mid lane.
And Xiang even using the Ornn ultimate to deter any attempt at a teleport. OMG suddenly will find Team WE who don't have summoner spells, don't have the ultimates to survive through the onslaught that OMG throw at them. And what looked like a brain fade a minute ago from OMG is now just matched from their opponents, who unfortunately were just a step too far in that middle lane. And I will say that was just good from OMG.
Yeah, looked good. That seemed to be the strategy that we thought they could throw out earlier into the match, but we didn't see it from them in the first 20 minutes. Just a dive in the bottom lane, finally pulling the trigger. They get the mid lane out of turret, and they are going to try and pick up this Mountain Dragon as well. Pings from Team WE to try and move towards Baron, but they don't have all their members alive. And 957 successfully pushed a couple of waves into that bottom lane in a turret.
Yeah, but this is very good lane assignment from OMG on the back end. This was very cerebral from Five in particular. He was the one clearly calling, and he was there 2 seconds earlier, just waiting for someone to get in his mouth. So they get those kills. You can see the teleport also going to be cancelled by the second part of that Ornn ultimate. Braum, there was no safe space when a Camille had the ultimate on.
No. Now we're going to see WE try to turn it back in their favor. They had the aggressive play bottom. It's just been back and forth between OMG as well as WE in terms of who makes the play. Neither team has reacted well.
This will be a dive on Icon, you feel like, if he steps up for the turret. But Pepper,
right behind him,
he goes in early to try and stop him from getting to the turret at all, and then loses most of his health from it.
I mean, could be a saving grace for Pepper as well. Jericho was waiting in Fog of War in case Icon got dived, so OMG's mid lane and jungler still working well together. Jericho now being tagged by Winter's Bite. Everyone for Team W trying to collapse as well. Imp throws out the culling. Teleport's being used. Even Five trying to join the fight with his ultimate. And everyone's going to try and fight for this top lane. Ultimate gets thrown out by Chelly. Doesn't connect with anyone from Team WE. And as soon as they see the arrow miss, they try to fight back. Sin still pushing in the mid lane. Xiang nowhere to be seen just yet, but WE get another turret for themselves.
I feel like I'm watching Wacky Races, Fish. Everything's just untimely. Now they're doing the Baron. They're going to be spotted for it. They do it quickly with Blade of the Ruined King. But that early on, with Baron having that much health, perhaps not quick enough. They will back away.
Blade of the Ruined King and Black Cleaver already being picked up by Lucian. 957 gets slowed down significantly in this mid lane, but runs forward. Five gonna protect the AD carry to kick things off. Sin still trying to run away from this fight, but missing. Throws the shield in the wrong direction just to stop the Ornn ultimate. But Xiang still finds the 5-man knockup to lock down WE. Missing's gonna be the sacrificial lamb. Charlie picks up that kill as the rest of WE, they're forced to retreat.
And Xiang just goes huge in that fight. They're able to secure just the single kill, however. 957 and Pepper are very low, so they've got control of the Baron area now. They should have control of the river at the very least. But unfortunately for OMG, that one kill doesn't result in them being able to start an objective. It doesn't give them anything else.
Just a kill. They've got pings going towards the Baron, but with Missing coming back up in 15 seconds, difficult for OMG to try and take that objective, especially with Icon. No summoner spells, no teleport available either, but let's take a look at this again. Charlie being aggressive once more.
Yeah, using that lethal tempo very well, and of course Missing does put up the door, prevents the Ornn ultimate from connecting to all of his team, but Xiang hits all of them with that knock-up. They are completely locked in place, and that's summoner spells, that's everything they could possibly find just to disengage. Icon, very unlucky that he doesn't find himself a second kill there under the Singe, but Singe is a very slippery man.
He is, but less than 100 hit points on 957. This is the second time we've seen Chelly step up so aggressive. He's not shy at all in this bottom lane. Been playing mostly bruisers and mages so far this split, but still has a hyper carry or two in him.
Yeah, certainly does.
Blade of the Ruined King, Hurricane, and Phantom Dancer already complete for him.
Yeah, certainly one of those players that seem to pick up the bruises quite quickly. And now that he's got that third item completed, and you mentioned it, it's the Phantom Dancer. It's all about dueling, getting that extra attack speed, and maybe the critical chance, because there's a chance he goes for the Infinity Edge 4th now. Caps out at 120%.
Increases the slow, increases the damage done by his passive as well. So it makes sense on Ashe. You don't get the massive increase anymore that you did from the old Infinity Edge.
No. But you also don't want to get the IE without any crit there. So he could have perhaps gone for it third, but Phantom Dancer... The thing that I maybe don't prefer the Phantom Dancer third for is that he's got lethal tempo. So he's already got an abundance of attack speed in his kit there from the runes. Maybe Infinity Edge would have helped for his damage output, but he can go towards it to reduce the damage of the opponent, the duel better.
I mean, it's 957 on Singed and Pepper on Olaf. These two champions are going to stick to you no matter what.
Yeah.
Even though you're Ashe, you've got a ton of slows. Ragnarok means that Olaf doesn't care, and Singed never cared about anything anyway. In that last team fight, he did get caught out slightly, but without 5, he would have been dead. So yeah, OMG tried to collapse onto the mid laner from Team WE, hanging up in the top lane.
But still very good from them to get the turret at all. The rotation of every member and how quickly they're able to rotate through a Tahm Kench. And a Camille with the hook shot, so the distance that can be covered when they're near the objective. Very good. Very nice way to deter WE from the structure, from defense. And you saw Xie, he moved quickly, so he's able to survive, but the turret will not.
I'm curious where we move to next, because we've seen aggressive plays from both OMG as well as Team WE, but Team WE were the team that said, you know what, we can sit back, we can relax, give you a couple of objectives here and there, and we'll scale to late game. But when does that team composition really come online for WE? Because they're still relaxing.
Yeah, no, so that's the thing, right? Like, Illusion is always going to be strong, but is still a low-range carry that can absolutely be taken down. So that's the major concern, and I feel like, you know, Xie will still do damage. He hasn't gone the full supportive build. So when do they come online? I'd say they're online now. They're just still choosing to be cautious. They're against the double Mountain Dragon team. That's a Baron available for them too, and they've got Blade of the Ruined King on that Ashe, so it'll go down very fast. They've got to start stepping up their game, not just with vision, because their vision is strong. It's that next step.
It almost feels difficult for W to try and pick a fight, though. Singed, yes, he can teleport in for a flank, run around with a bit of poison. Pepper can try and charge into a fight as well with the help of Karma, but if Mystic's not jumping on top of someone from OMG, they're disengaging. So OMG have all the tools to try and initiate fights in this match.
Yeah, and that's actually a major part of where these team fights starts and ends come from. For OMG, the Ornn can start it, Jericho can start it, Ashe can start it, and Tahm Kench can also bring someone into the back line as well if they choose to. And then they can also disengage with the Lulu and the Ashe. So as a team composition goes, you'd say it's fairly well-rounded from the OMG side. For WE, they've got a Lucian and a Karma, so it'll be a lot of damage. They'll work in harmony decently well. But their engage tool is the Singed. And maybe the Braum if he can get access into using the ultimate, but Singed has the Shurelya's, so he is the engage tool and he wants to go forwards, which means the best way to get them to engage is to make them come to you.
Which by starting Baron is perfect for Team WE. OMG are forced to try and defend this objective if WE stick onto it. But I see a couple of OMG members moving over some vision wards. They decide that they're going to disengage and play this one safe. 957 still waiting in the mid lane just in case. But neither team forcing a fight just yet. Missing standing in front. We saw him in the last fight, throwing up the shield to stop the Ornn ultimate, which meant that there was a ton of damage being dished out on the support. He has to make that crucial decision in these fights. If OMG started, does he block the engage, block the Ornn horn, or block the damage that's coming straight in front from OMG? Neither team really want to fight just yet. OMG not forcing the fight, WE just retreating, not allowing OMG to force a fight either.
And a lot of the game plan for WE would be about poking with Xie. Every time he gets the Mantra-empowered Q off, he can blast people in a wide AoE. If he can find entry to a carry champion, so Icon, Jericho, Chelly would be the ones that you look at, then they could actually just get control of the area from the damage that he's doing. It's a death cap that he's completed third, so the damage is well and truly online. Arrow.
There's the arrow. Imp sidesteps it. Missing was not able to pick it up with his shield, but doesn't matter. OMG botched the engage. That arrow will be off of cooldown shortly. Doesn't matter too much for OMG, trying to look for the pick. Not successful, however, and unfortunately, even though OMG have 3 dragons picked up, the next one's Team WE's one. It's the Elder Dragon coming up next. That's where we know they love to fight. It doesn't feel like the meta for it, but they've shown that they still want to try and fight around Elder Dragon.
certainly will be the time in the game, at the very least, where WE choose to take the fight. When you have both objectives up and available, when there's an Elder Dragon and a Baron presented to you, you have no choice but to take more fights and be more forwards with your decisions. So the time is running short for WE's passivity. If it continues, they'll start to get very limited with their options. But past that, OMG then potentially get 2 options. But WE also get the option to trade. There's going to be much more diverse strategic thinking and vision placement to be seen in the coming minutes.
They do have some nice item pickups though. Zeke's being picked up by Pepper, and a Knight's Vow being picked up by Missing. Means that Imp gets 2 items to support him. On top of that, a Karma with an Athene's being picked up can heal Imp during these team fights. It's already
just raw shields with a death cap as well is massive.
I mean, it's already a very slippery Lucian with the Essence Reaver being picked up, making sure they can dash around fights for the first 10 seconds after using the culling, and a QSS being picked up. So difficult to lock down Imp.
She is my kind of mid laner, dude. We get to look at Chelly. All the crit he's got, he's actually over 100%. But he's at 100 because he can't go over it.
Infinity Edge already being picked up. Waiting to see what his final item's going to be. Could be a good time for OMG to fight, especially with level 16 being picked up on Ashe. The lowest cooldown on the ultimate is now available.
You know, you mentioned the potential shields with the Athenes that come out of Xie, but note that Icon's doing the exact same thing. The Athenes on Holy Grail is done. 3 items of his own, but a bit more auto attack damage to be seen from that Lulu. God's going towards that Lich Bane.
Arrow gets thrown out, Missing catches it, but that's the support, throws up the shield once again, takes no damage. WE say now it's our time to re-engage. Xiang in trouble at half health, eaten up by 5, forced to flash away. Look at the Madman! It's both Ragnarok as well as Singe charging into this fight. Missing blocks the Ornn ultimate, double kill being picked up by Imp. They force the fight, OMG engage, but they don't get anything for themselves.
And with the bottom lane gone from OMG, Team WE should just be able to go straight over to the Baron, tear its health down extremely quickly. And nothing left for OMG but a chance at a steal. But it's going to be spotted. Can Jericho do it at all?
Difficult.
They don't have vision.
Jericho's going to try. Waiting over the wall. Singe throws out the W. Jericho's way too low. Decides he's not going to risk it. Disengage. Baron at 2,000 health. Even WE playing this one safe. But it is picked up. A team fight and a Baron for WE.
Choosing not even to risk it in this case. OMG's jungler and Jericho just sacrifices the Baron. But even better from Team WE. They wait. They get their cooldowns off. They burst it at once from 2,000 down. Now there's 1 minute and 30 seconds until the Elder Dragon. And it should be side lane control, should be vision control belonging to Team WE. You can see Camille trying to get in sooner rather than later. Secure that scuttle, prevent them from getting it.
Make sure they get the permanent or semi-permanent vision. Making sure that WE can't sweep that one away. They have Baron buff to work with. Not a large gold lead. 3,000 gold this late into the match. It will slowly increase, but unless they go back to base, they're not going to get the items for it. Double lifesteal items being picked up by Imp as well. We saw how crucial he was for WE in that last team fight when Missing found the reinitiation. Imp was mowing down multiple members of OMG.
It looks like they've just found the lane they want to sit themselves in. They had the Banner of Command that just got dematerialized, I believe, so good from OMG. Keeping dematerializers there. But I don't think WE are going to stop just that easily. If they can keep the mid lane, they can prevent OMG from placing vision. They can prevent them from getting access to any major objective, namely the Elder Dragon.
OMG have the wave clear of both Chelly with the Hurricane as well as Icon. Xiang even being a bit risky, standing outside of the base, trying to tank the minions first, make it difficult for WE, to push any further forward. Not taking too much damage, but making his life a little bit miserable.
Looks like Chelly misclicking a couple of times there as well. Not quite getting the auto attacks off on the minions. Stepping up dangerously close to his opponents. But respecting nonetheless. They want to back away. Now is a great time to do it. If I was WE, I would do exactly what they are now. They want the fight. They don't want to just do the objective on spawn. No risks to be taken from this team.
Hawkshot did go out from Team WE. I believe it... sorry, from OMG. I believe it clipped them in vision.
Oh, they want it.
They're trying to force a fight. OMG want to disengage this one. Jericho as well as Chelly slowing down the WE roster. Now, OMG want to jump back in. Ornn throws out the ultimate, gets a triple knock-up, making sure WE are locked in, but they're still trying to fight. 2 of their members low on health. Missing is missing everything at the moment. Forcing members back to base. Pepper wants no part of this fight. OMG stand their ground.
And they've got side lane control on the top side of the map, so someone has to go and deal with that. If they send someone there, they would lose the Elder Dragon. OMG may just secure a turret. WE did the same thing bottom lane. You can see them still. Jericho has no health.
Oh no, Jericho has to get out of that fight. One empowered Q coming out from Seer knocks Jericho out.
He's got smacked. That may just be the Elder Dragon. Look at Jericho staying around just for the smite.
Pepper's back. Pepper was able to recall.
All it takes is Shea. One more Q and Jericho's gone.
If he can find it. Sia can also try and engage with the shield. Bottom lane, massive minion wave there, but missing!
Chelly.
So much health being taken away by Chelly. Walking forward, making sure WE don't get this dragon too easy. Meanwhile, OMG are losing parts of their base.
This is a wild ride. Look at top lane as well. Bot's losing the inhib, but top's about to do the same thing. And we're still dancing for the Elder.
Jericho went back to base though, and he just showed in the bottom lane. So WE say now we can try and take it. We have Smite. Siang can teleport back into this one. Siang taking up the front lane, gets flicked in, but 957 taken down by Charlie. On throws out the ultimate as well. No Braum to block this one. No Ragnarok yet for Pepper, but missing rejoins the fight. Five's in trouble, the first one to fall. Charlie's trying to kite this one backward. Is it going to be enough? He got one. He picks up the second one as well. Going even further forward, forces Sia and Pepper away.
And you cannot stop this OMG AD carry. He goes off and they get the team fight victory. Minions do work bottom, but it's not enough for Team WE. The Baron has been thwarted, the Elder Dragon has been secured, and they go straight down mid lane.
OMG see your Baron buff, Team WE, but decided to pick up Elder anyway. That's three elemental dragons with an Elder buff. OMG already pushing in towards the base with the timers on 957 if it missing. This could be game here, Rusty.
It started so casual and then just explodes all at once. They are going for the end.
But unfortunately, Casual's on the bench and OMG are ripping apart Team WE's base. Pepper and Sia cannot do anything but watch helplessly. OMG take game number 1.
I thought we were in for 60 minutes of gameplay there. I could swear we were in for one of the longest games you've ever seen, and then how quickly that cascaded, how quickly that came to an end off the back of Chelly.
What a god. Fantastic performance in game 1 coming out from Chelly. From the start to the finish.
He had that 100% crit. He shows that AD carries can still do what it takes to win a game. And it was a very scary fight to be in. The Braum had the passive procs on him, but he stood strong. Imp, even in the middle of the fight, was still doing some serious damage. You have to feel like Chelly in the end. You can see it in the damage.
30,000.
He just did so much more.
He had the backing of Icon as well as Five, who, mind you, more damage than the Siang's damage build Camille in that match. Was important in the early game, but Pepper kept him locked down for most of that match. Still, OMG playing incredibly well as a team.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Icon playing very well at keeping Chelly alive for sure. Five decent ultimates to get into the back lines. And a lot of the team play from them when they committed to the turret, when they committed to the dive, was decent from OMG. WE just chose to play it calmly, play it slowly. And a lot of this game boiled down to whoever engaged first lost. I think every single fight that we saw that wasn't a skirmish, like an actual 5v5 team fight, whoever engaged it lost the team fight.
It almost felt like OMG should have tried those engages much earlier because they had the composition to set up to try and pick apart Team WE, waited a little bit too late. Missing did a good job of reinitiating for Team WE. WE found a couple of flanks, but you're absolutely right. Every time a team tried to engage, it was the team that was defending that always had the upper hand.
Yeah, I think a lot of this just came down to the objectives. Make them fight over something, bring WE to you, and the team fight's too easy.
I mean, it was very slow at the start, back and forth in the middle, and a back and forth late game for OMG's Game 1 victory. We're going to send it over to the analyst desk to break it down.
Thanks, guys, and that's exactly what we're going to do as we get into this one, because I think this is a bit of an unexpected outcome for some of the folks at home, seeing standard almost lanes, 280 carries in the bottom lane, 2 supportive mid laners invading junglers with how it shakes out, but we have to bring up the picks and bans and point out specifically how this went out the way it was, because Clement, you and I were talking about it. The thing that ended up being most important, I think, was that Ashe pick after the Singed and then the Tahm Kench right afterwards. OMG gave themselves a very flexible draft and then picked into what we call old standard draft with the marksman support afterwards because they saw the Singed, because they saw the composition from WE.
Yeah, this might be a standard draft for a lot of people watching the show, but for OMG, this is something that they've never done before.
Yeah.
Icon has never for a single time picked Lulu. He has always gone for the assassins. He's always gone for hard carry position. In this game, they gave all the tools over to Chelly. Now, our question has always been, how is OMG going to fight a team fight, a 5v5 team fight? What are they going to do late game? Who is their secondary carry? And I think they answered all of these questions in this game. They just had to take a step away from what they were traditionally known for, putting Icon as support and saying, we're going to 5v5.
Yeah, like we heard from the casters, that seems like an alien strategy. Nobody wants to see Icon on Lulu, the man who can go for the outplays, the hitman who kills just about everyone in the LPL and almost solo one-on-ones, but playing the Lulu, playing back and playing supportive with Jieko. This actually answers some of the questions that we had for how OMG are going to change their style moving forward, if it's ever going to happen. And playing that mid-jungle with Jieko and not Mountain, finding Chelly and Five to be the primary carries through the bottom lane.
Yeah, because if you think about OMG, what they typically do is that their main initiator is actually Five.
Yeah.
So in Spring Split, we saw potential in Chelly. We said, hey, this guy actually has decent mechanics, but nobody was ever around him. So he was actually had one of the highest deaths out of any AD carry in the LPL. But this time they're actually diverting resources and making sure they actually can survive into the Team 5 phases here. And on the other side, for W, I actually think they had a decent composition as well. They had split push, they had winning side lanes, and they had this team fight that was very strong in terms of the mid game, where I didn't think W were the one to push enough. I don't think it was OMG weren't the one. I thought it was kind of W who didn't push their side lane advantages enough. And when it came to the big late game, OMG definitely had the composition advantage.
Yeah, that being said, we did still see a few team fights go in favor of OMG. Obviously, that team fight at the end was what clinched it, but where it started to get a little dicey was Xiang on this Ornn, finding the 5-man knockup on a broken turret. How do you even see this?
And this is just beauty to watch, man. Like, Rusty has been saying this, whoever engages first, they do lose more of your CC tools, your gap flows, just to run into someone, and when it's the counter punch, it usually does come out harder. But harder doesn't mean knockout. That was like completely lights out. That was W probably doesn't have a chance coming back into that game. And it's just, Xiang played this game incredibly well. If you look at the top lane, he was consistently ahead of the Singed, which is considered typically a harder matchup to play. And in terms of the team fight as well, I think he did much better than 957. 957, he was running at the target, but a lot of times engages were way too straightforward. He wasn't going for the flanks. He actually had a couple bad teleports where he came in and did nothing. So I think Xiang did provide a very good, stable pathway to that victory. And if you think about Xiang's role on the team, it has always been tank frontline. Or he doesn't really go for bruisers, doesn't really go for split pushers. And I think with that base, it's a very solid foundation for you to then build Chelly and a big AD composition on top.
Yeah, obviously OMG with the strategy had something very clearly in mind. To get more into this push and pull of how these team fights interacted, I want to go back to this Ashe, because we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. The Ashe seems like, yes, we've seen it a couple of places internationally, but I think the reason that it worked here was specifically the itemization and how crit changed Ashe and how it works into WE's composition. Because 957 with the Singed, taking Shirelli's Reverie, getting that slipstream, trying to find Chelly that primary damage and assassinate him. Well, you can't do that if you are 60% slowed 100% of the time. 2 attack speed items and 1 Infinity Edge means that Frost Shot for Ashe is always active
Critical
with
slow,
every auto attack. Like you said, critical slow. And then all Singed can do is flash to force the engage. And with 2 supports carrying or to keep taking care of Chelly in these fights, how on earth do you kill that?
It was actually incredibly hard, but Singed did have a few tricks up his sleeve, and we can actually see it in one of these team fights where the new passive for Singed, the Slipstream, actually allows him to step from the very back of the fight all the way towards the front, where he's getting 20% movement speed, moving through every single one of these champions. And you can see by the end of it, he actually was able to catch up to Chelly, despite the Lulu speed up, despite the Tom catch. He was going incredibly fast. So
he did have to expend his own flash, but I think that just speaks more to how the compositions interact and what they were trying to do.
Very specific champion mechanics that each side was trying to use and get better of it. It was a game of chase, basically, and whoever caught onto the other one was able to win.
Of course, to follow up on that, though, Chelly will take our MVP. No surprise with how he played that last team fight, which I'm sure we'll get a chance to see out of the back of this. 6-2-1, 100% kill participation for the AD carry of OMG.
And this really opens up a new path for this team. He wants to be the face of this franchise. He wants to be the main carry here, the way they carry themselves into these big 5v5 team fights. This is something that OMG has been lacking for a long time. I'm very glad they're finally opening their eyes to this possibility, and they see they do have the talent pieces to pull it off.
The big question, though, is can they hybridize the two styles? Perhaps play with two carries, Icon and Chili.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Only time will tell, I suppose. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready. Game 2 is coming at you in just a few.
不去躲避那些责任和难题，OMG 的救赎由我们亲手完成。